What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Floyd Street's Finest, a Louisville basketball podcast, part of the Field of 68 Media Network. Make sure that you are following the Field of 68 across all platforms, Twitter, Instagram. Check out the YouTube channel as well, because we are unveiling all kinds of preseason content, men's and women's basketball. Plenty to talk about. We just had the Louisville team preview that, if you haven't listened to it yet, is on your podcast feed for Floyd Street's Finest. It was a Field of 68 and Floyd Street's Finest collabo. It was me and Rob Doster, and Chris Mack also joined to talk to Rob at some point through the podcast. So lots to get through in that one. And we're following that up with an interview with Jae'Lyn Withers. I'm thrilled to have him on the podcast for the first time after a breakout redshirt freshman season, his first year at the college level. He's now moving back to his more natural position at power forward. And I told people this throughout the course of last season, wrote about it in my newsletter, which, by the way, you can subscribe to on Substack. It's just jeffgreer.substack.com. It comes out every Thursday morning. Is that Jae'Lyn Withers was the player most impacted by Malik Williams coming back, even if it was just for 2.5 games or so, because it allowed Jae'Lyn to go back to his more natural position, which is a stretch 4. So we talk a little bit about him and the work that it required to switch to the center position, how he has transitioned back to playing the 4, what he's worked on so far this offseason and preseason, because obviously it's a very different role. But I think he's also a guy who could truly benefit a lot from the Ross McMains hire and the implementation of this new offense that Louisville is going to be running this season, because he's going to get a chance to play in that 4 spot off the perimeter. He is a creative player. He can create for others. He can make plays. He can score off the dribble. I've done plenty of that, monitoring that and assessing that, evaluating that in the newsletter, but we've talked about it on the podcast as well. He is at his best when he is facing up a defender and can attack them. So they've worked a lot with him this offseason on getting more comfortable out on the perimeter than being the guy who runs rim to rim and occupies space in the lane for Louisville, as he did this past season. But he has proudly stated that, as you'll find out in the interview, that he has not shedded too much of the muscle that he added to his body to get ready for that role last season. We talk about a number of things: Malik Williams, the expectations for the team, Jared West, Dre Davis comes up a little bit, as well as a guy who's been impressive for Louisville in this offseason. And I went to practice on Wednesday of last week. By the time this podcast comes out, I will have gone to another practice. I'm excited to just go watch, because it gives me a really good feel for what type of team I think Louisville has. And I have to agree with what Jae'Lyn said. I think Noah Locke stood out to me first and foremost out of everyone playing off. To be fair, Jae'Lyn was not practicing the day that I was there. I was told he'd be back very soon. It was a more of just a being careful thing. Same with Malik Williams. Matt Cross was out that day. I was actually at the practice when Mike James unfortunately went down with an Achilles injury. He will be out for the season, which is significant, because Chris Mack said this on the Red Zone with Nick Coffey, my friend Nick Coffey, at ACC Media Days. Mike James was going to play this season. I'm confident in saying that. He was going to have a role for Louisville. And the reason I'm confident in that is, one, the conversations in the offseason when you talk about who's playing well, who stood out, he was always mentioned as a guy who has been really impressive. And then when I saw them in practice, he practiced for 45 minutes to an hour before he was hurt, maybe even longer than that. And I was blown away with the toughness, the physicality that he played with for a freshman. It would impress me if he was a junior. It would impress me if he was a senior. And it impressed me even more so because it was his first 6 months in the program, and he was going toe-to-toe. He and Dre Davis both really had some fun battles with each other. You could see how they were probably wearing on each other. By the time the season started, they couldn't wait, I'm sure, to play against other guys at their position, because they are both playing at a high level, and had been playing at a high level, and were super physical, super tough with each other, all of course legal, within the legal bounds. And if there was a foul, they would be called for it. But I was super impressed with Mike James and Dre Davis. And it's unfortunate for Louisville to miss out on getting a chance to play Mike James as a freshman. But this points back to the larger picture that we have painted in this offseason talking about Louisville. This exact reason is why Chris Mack went and added 14 players or built a roster with 14 scholarship players, because the injuries that were going to occur over the course of the season, you just assume that they were going to happen. You didn't want to get yourself into a situation where you come into the season with 10 or 11 guys who you know can give you minutes, and 2 or 3 of them go down, God forbid, with something, and you're down to a 7 or 8 man rotation. Louisville was stuck in that position last year where they were playing guys who needed time, and they were having to play them in crunch minutes, important minutes, even if it was 5-10 minutes, but they were playing them in ACC games, and it's hard to rise to that occasion right away when you're supposed to be someone who's going to need some time to develop. So this roster is much better suited to deal with an injury like this. So we hope for the best for Mike James, who we had on this podcast. I was really impressed with him. Really smart kid, really nice kid. Sucks for him, but it sounds like his surgery went well, and we wish him the best going forward. Noah Locke, just so savvy. Really impressed with him. Good work ethic. Apparently very consistent in his practice performances. And we talk about this with Jae'Lyn, about his ability to just consistently show up and being completely honest, the guy makes a lot of shots. It's very impressive. That being said, Cards fans, Great Flood is going all out this season. During all televised Cardinal women's basketball, men's basketball, and football games this season, our drinks are 10% cheaper for the entirety of the game. The pricing is available at both the Highlands Tap Room and Middletown Restaurant. If you have not been to one or either of those yet, please go do that. They're both awesome spots. They love hosting you and can't wait to root along with you as they cheer on their Cardinals. Thank you for your loyal support, and go Cards. That message from Great Flood. And by the way, as a side note, they're now expanding their options in their tap room for the first time in 7 years, offering wine by the glass or bottle, and liquor and a cocktail menu also are coming soon. And on Sundays at either location, this is a big one, folks, enjoy endless mimosas. You can thank me later. That's a message from our friends at Great Flood Brewing Company. And before we get to the Jae'Lyn Withers conversation, let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at Bet Rivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up with Bet Rivers yet, now is the time, because they are offering $250 as a match bonus for your first deposit. But what sets them apart is that they require just one playthrough, to turn your bonus into cash money with their new Rush Pay instant approval. Withdrawing your winnings is safer, more secure, and more reliable. With basketball season right around the corner, get in on the action by going to betrivers.com today or by downloading the BetRivers iOS app. You must be 21 years or older, and if you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Here's Jae'Lyn Withers, a conversation with Floyd Street's finest. All right, we are joined by Jae'Lyn Withers. Jae'Lyn, how's it going, man?
It's going pretty good. How about you?
We're hanging in there. I'm ready for basketball season. I can't believe that we've already gotten to this point so quickly, but it's just a couple of weeks away now. How do you feel like the preseason has gone for both you and also for your team?
I think Did you lose me?
No, you're there. I see you.
I think the preseason is going. I think that we're coming along pretty well.
That's good.
I'd say me personally, I think I've gotten a pretty good feel for the offense that we're putting there.
How would you describe this new offense for people who are, going to tune in on November 9th and see you guys for the first time in like 8 months? It's certainly from practice, it seems very different than, than what you were playing last year.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's a lot faster, not too much in the half court as of right now. It's a lot of transition and creating advantages inside the half court instead of, I guess, waiting on a set play or slowing down, I guess, playing more so like Virginia in the half.
Well, for you, I watched you play in AAU, and I remember you being a guy who would bring the ball up at times. You were happy on the perimeter, comfortable on the perimeter. You could play inside and out. And last year you were asked, I know it was late on, but you were asked to play more of the five, probably, I would assume, change your body quite a bit to play that position in the ACC. Take us through what that was like, learning that role, and then what it's been like kind of getting back to what you're more comfortable with at the four this offseason.
I would say when the situation was first presented to me, it was kind of hard to really grasp the positives on it. I was more so thinking about, me being out of position, me having to battle with people that big. But I think that that year, as far as playing the five, was pretty beneficial to my game. I had to say I actually know how to guard a five on the collegiate level, at least. I would say probably on the next level as well. I understand the physicality that's needed for being down there. It also helped me, put on a little bit more muscle mass that was probably needed. On top of what I already put on since my redshirt year.
Mm-hmm. How has it been going back to what you're used to playing, I guess, so your more natural position this offseason? And what have you had to do to feel comfortable in that spot again?
I've definitely gotten up a lot more reps as far as being out on the perimeter, trying to get a little bit more comfortable with using ball screens, playing throughout spacing, just the whole nine, honestly. Like it's definitely a lot different than playing with my back to the basket or playing around the rim. It's got to get back into that perimeter game feel, I guess you could say.
Was there a moment last year? You had to play against some dudes who are like Amir Sims and, guys who have been around the ACC for a while. I know Virginia always has a bunch of physical players. Were there any moments where you just as a competitor, you're like, okay, yeah, this is definitely, I'm banging with these centers in the ACC. Were there any moments like that throughout the season?
I don't know. I would say I would like to give props to my strength training coach. I think I was pretty strong last year. So after I figured out how to necessarily guard them, it wasn't too hard to really guard them. If they were hitting tough shots of me, that's a little different. But I'd say probably against Miami kind of showed me just how physical 5 men and how strong 5 men it can be. When we played Nasir Brooks, he ended up getting, I think, 3 or 4 early on. And, my coach, one of the assistants, Coach McGee's, got in my ear and told me, like I need to toughen up. Like, this isn't a little boy's game. So it kind of matched his physicality, and the game went otherwise, but went a different way after that.
Yeah, I imagine that there's been, for every guy playing in their first year in the ACC, there's plenty of those moments where you're just kind of like, okay, yeah, all right, got to rise my game to this level, raise my game to it. You have been someone who has been kind of an example of how a redshirt year can be very beneficial, getting the year to kind of get adjusted to the college schedule, work on your body a little bit, and then come out guns blazing your first season playing. What was your approach to that redshirt year? And what was your reaction to finding out you were going to be redshirted? And then how did you handle that through the school year?
Um, I honestly was more so given the choice to redshirt, and I honestly wanted to after talking with my dad. And I mean, I have to say my approach to the situation was more so like to carry on as usual, work out, get better in the weight room. But I mean, I would say around October, maybe early November, I kind of started taking the weight room and my weight gain a little bit more serious, and the workout amount started increasing on the court. So I mean, I honestly just bought into the process, I guess you could say.
You mentioned your dad, and for those who don't know, he obviously played at Charlotte. He played professional basketball as well. What type of influence was he on your life? And I would ask you what you learned from him from a basketball standpoint, but I realized that would be a whole other podcast. That would be a few hours. But what type of influence has he been on your basketball career, and how do you think being around him and knowing what he had produced when he was a player maybe helped you through your development and into college?
I think I just lost you. Could you say that one more time? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I was just saying, you mentioned your dad. Obviously, he had a long career and played pro. He played in college. What do you think you took from his experiences in terms of helping you get ready to play at this level and develop the way you have?
Um, Hate to say it, he kind of basically gave me a heads up to everything that would and could have possibly happened up until this point. He told me that the speed, the aggression, and the physicality is going to increase a lot every level that I went to, whether that was from middle school to AAU to high school all the way up until college, where I'm at now. Like it was, hate to say it, it was kind of a I told you so. I guess you could put it that way. Like he told me a lot of this stuff, and I was kind of I was hearing them, but I guess I didn't really fully understand them until I experienced it myself.
Yeah, that is, trust me, that applies to all facets of life with every mentor and mentee relationship. Sometimes you just have to experience it to truly understand where they're coming from. I do want to ask you, before we get into maybe some of your teammates and a little bit more about you and your development, something that was huge this offseason in college sports. Everybody was talking about it around July. And leading into this school year is the change in name, image, and likeness stuff. Because you're already in school, you've got a brand name, people know who you are, especially in Louisville. How has that maybe changed the environment, do you think, for college basketball, and how has it affected you?
I'd have to say that it's changed. I would say it's possibly changed the way that I guess the high schoolers are being recruited now. I know a lot of high schoolers are probably going to want to go to a school that would present a lot of NIL deals since it's deemed legal now. But I don't know. I can't really say. I don't really know too much other than.
I feel like it's going to be something that we all kind of just watch and see how it plays out, and we'll know more about it in a year. You did just announce a partnership with 502 Originals. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Tell us about that.
It's going pretty smooth. It's going pretty smooth so far. I just released my first shirt. There's probably going to be more to come, more clothing, whether that's a hoodie or different colorways. But it's going pretty smooth. I just dropped the pre-order link 2 nights ago.
Okay.
So
There you
Yeah, I
go.
mean, if it's possible, I try to see if you can attach that link to the Zoom call.
There you go. We'll give you a shout out for it. We'll make sure that people know about it. I want to know, like, is there going to be a rivalry with you and like Dre Davis? I saw he has shirts coming out. Are you guys going to be like design rivals at this point? What do you see in the future for you two?
That could possibly be in the making. JJ Trainer actually has his own brand as
That's
well.
right. That's right.
Yeah, it's going pretty smooth for the three of us, though, I believe.
That's good. Well, tell me a little bit about some of your teammates. Malik Williams obviously is a guy who you have seen experience a lot in your 3 years or 2+ years here.
Mhm.
What has he meant to you as a vocal leader, a guy who you were having to step into his shoes a little bit last season? And what do you think you've learned from being around him the last couple of years?
I've learned a lot, whether that's being a everyday guy, being more vocal on the court, doing the little things. But shucks, he was my mentor, I guess. My freshman year, my redshirt year, we
Mhm.
used to always lift together until I started lifting a lot more on my own. But he basically showed me the ropes of a lot of things, whether that's on and off the court, just different ways to carry myself, like around the city, like different things to help out, like the community. He was a pretty good mentor for me.
His influence on this program has seemed to just grow, day by day. It just seems like he just continues to become bigger and bigger of a figure for you guys. What has it been like having him back healthy and having him around a little bit more in terms of actually like playing and seeing him out there versus having him be on the sidelines?
It's been great. He's actually looking real good. We since he's been back healthy, we've played one on one a little bit, sparred me, him, and DeAndre. But it's real good. I mean, since I would say last year, we had his voice, but it wasn't like he couldn't really say too much because he wasn't really
Mhm,
in the midst of play, like while we were as well. But
mhm.
I would say him and Jared are definitely big influences on the court.
Tell me about the newcomers. You mentioned Jared. Who has stuck out to you, I guess? I mean, I'm not asking you to throw anybody under the bus, but who have been some of the guys who have stuck out to you so far in both off-season workouts and now that you're in the preseason practices?
Uh, hmm, I can't necessarily say anybody specific, but I would say we all have shown, whether that's player wise or coaching staff wise, like a lot of improvement since we first got here. But outside of Malik, I would have to say probably Dre and Noah. Dre's defensive intensity has increased a lot. His energy, his consistency has gone through the roof, I like to say. Um, Noah can shoot the laces off the ball. It's crazy. But yeah, I would say that we've all improved since we first got here.
I
Well, since
was
everybody's first got back to campus.
Yeah, I was at practice last week and was really impressed with Dre. That's a great player to mention. And Noah is just so smooth. Like he knows how to score. He's
Yeah.
every shot he takes looks like it's going in. It reminds me a little bit. I know they're very different players, but it does remind me a little bit of Jordan Wara when he was here and Ryan McMahon, where as soon as they release the ball, you're like, that's probably going in.
Mm,
And that's just that level of shooting that's that's a difference maker.
yeah.
What about Sam? What kind of offseason has Sam had in your view, and how do you feel like he's progressing?
Uh, Sam's progressing pretty well. I think that he's become a lot more consistent from three since I would say last season and the season prior. I think he's definitely been improving year by year. Uh, I would say him within the offense, he's gonna he's gonna be producing a lot. I mean, his motor on the glass is still high as ever.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say he's been improving year by year.
I have a few curveballs for you. One is it mentions in your like player profile in the media guide that one thing that people don't know a whole lot about you is that you love anime. How much,
Yeah.
how significant is that, or was that, were you just being funny?
Uh, it's spot on. I mean, I'm more so into I guess the action ones like Dragon Ball Z, maybe Naruto. Uh, it was a new one that came out, I believe, this year called Demon Slayer. But those are probably the ones that I've been keeping up with as of late or watched as a kid.
Okay. Well, before there was a guy here before you got here, Dang Adele, who would do the Naruto, the fly after he would make a big play. He would run down the court doing that, and was apparently infamous for doing that around campus with Donovan Mitchell quite a bit. So you're continuing the tradition of Naruto fans on Louisville basketball. So good for you. That's that's awesome.
Good to hear.
Yeah. Last thing, then, I like to ask every player this because I know you guys. I mean, there's nothing more competitive when you're not on the basketball court than your video games. What do you put your stake down and say, I am the best at this game on the team?
I'd say any fighting game, in my opinion. I would say I'm pretty good at Fortnite, but we got others on the team that say otherwise. But I say like Mortal Kombat, Tekken, Street Fighter, games like that. I know I'm top two, not two, if you want to say it like that.
Okay, fair enough. Jae'Lyn, I appreciate you spending all this time with us. I will leave you with this one. Your season, obviously, people were upset with the way the season ended last year. You had a great individual season. The team just fell short. Where do you feel like you guys are mentality-wise, getting ready for the season that is so close now?
Oh, we're head hunting for sure. Felt like we got shorthanded. I mean, I say that we're hungrier than ever. I like to say, even the newcomers, like they see our potential, and I'd say that they want to get to that.
All right. There you go. Well, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. For those who are listening, Jae'Lyn did this on his day off. So kudos to him for chatting with us. This is a rare moment of day off time. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day off, and best of luck with you this season. All right.
Sir, hope you enjoy your day off too.
All right. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.